Can you all able to see my slide? Please cancel and confirm. Yeah. So good evening, YouTube and Zoom team. Let's wait for others to join. Exactly at 6 we will start. Okay, it's 6. Once again, good evening to both Zoom and YouTube team. Thank you for joining on time. So let's do a short recap. Then we will start today's topic. So in the previous class, we have understood one thing about testing is if in any organization, testing is the one department which going to tell whether this product is 100% good or not, and it can be used by the customer or not. So finally, they will certify it. So in the previous class case study, we understood what is the impact of it by using the Tesla Cybertruck product launch. And then again, the dev guys will have the thought process of how to make it. When it comes for testing, we have to come up with how to break it. And the testing means always whenever we talk about testing, it means the actual result must be equal to expected results. One good part about this one is already we learned these concept in the automation testing. So same thing only. We according to the requirement, expected result is very important. We have to check that. If you're doing it manually, we call that manual testing. If you use automation tool, then we call that as an automation testing. Then the first important thing is how we are going to develop a product. So they are bringing some process, some methodologies, and this is very interesting one. When we know about this alone, then we will know the worth of agile and other methodologies. So we have a step-by-step process to develop the product. The most traditional way is waterfall model. one thing about waterfall model is it looks like a waterfall. We call a waterfall model. Until we complete one phase, we can't move on to the other phase. That's the main point about the waterfall model. You must complete one phase, then you have to go for another phase. So what is the biggest drawback of this one is we can't go with requirement change, because requirement change is very important, right? Suddenly some requirement will change. If you're coming with a product after 6 months, by the time this requirement may look very odd, maybe outdated. So requirement change is not possible, and the testing is done at later stage. I can't say at end, later stage. So what is the problem with this? When we test at the later stage instead of early, the cost will be high. So that's a problem with the waterfall model. Then this was resolved in the iterative model. In the iterative model, they came up with some plan, like by module requirement, we can work on it. So again, the requirement change was answered, but still the testing is done at the end. Then comes the spiral model. It is again based on the risk driven, where if you are going to test part by part, we are missing the risk factor. Sometimes we are not testing what is needed for us. So we are coming up with something called risk driven approach. So every phase we will develop in such a way that what is the first high priority. First we will go to conceptual, logical design, physical design, final design. Some way which something related to the risk we take, prioritize and test it. Then also testing is done at the end. Later only we understood, okay, testing is something very important for an organization. I want to reduce the cost of overall product, means the only way, start early as possible. There comes the V module. So validation and verification, or verification, validation, whatever you can tell, both done parallelly from the starting stage. When you start with the requirement, you will do the acceptance testing. System design, system testing. Architectural design, integration testing. So the testing team will involve with all the discussions from the scratch onwards, from the starting onwards. So the from the waterfall model only we got the V model. So waterfall model had two problem. One is early testing is not possible, that it is done here. Another problem, what? Requirement change. Still this is not answered. Then only we are coming up with a new plan called agile methodology, which is widely used in organization nowadays. So we will see this quite later. So let's try to focus on. So this is how and minus we understood, and every model is having its own way. Now the most important fundamentals. Today's topic, we are going to start today's topic, and again there are few lines you should always remember. Everyone say become a tester, you get a job. It is very easy to enter into IT using a testing, enter into QE. But trust me, team, even in all the books, this line is written. Yes, anyone can become a tester, but only very few can become a quality tester. So quality tester means what? It's all about testing. It's all about finding the bug or defect. That is the actual result equal to expected result. You may think this is easier, but not so. It is not that much easier to test, come up with all the negative scenarios, covering all the test coverages without leaving any defect. So this is such an important task. And when we talk about testing, we have many types of testing: functional testing, non-functional testing, different levels like sanity, regression, smoke testing. These are all the things we have already covered in the automation. So whatever be the testing, I'm saying it, if you follow this 7 software testing principles, always whenever something is not going as per your plan, just think about this process, this particular 7 software testing principles, then you will be back on track. So what are all that? So totally we have 7. Early testing. Testing is context dependent. Exhaustive testing is not possible. Defect clustering, pesticide paradox, and testing shows the presence of defect and the absence of error. So every book will follow their own way of explaining this. I have designed in such a way that it will be very easy for you to visualize, remember it. Let's put it according to the industrial standard, which comes very important. Like that, you just think about it. First one, see again, we have so many testing. For every type of a testing, this rule will be applicable. It is not specific to regression or sanity or a smoke or system integration testing. We have a different levels of testing. Whatever be the functional testing you take it, this rule will be applicable. First rule, very easy actually. Early testing. We already know a problem in waterfall model. There was a problem like testing started at the later stage. So we came up with a plan called V module. In the V module, it is an early testing. So this, what is an advantage of this? We can find defect in the early stage. Because of that, overall cost can be reduced. That's it. So already the methodology is implemented. That is what saying. Try to implement early testing as early as possible. So testing should start as early as possible in the software development lifecycle. So example, V module. But still your project is working on a waterfall module means you have to go through the requirement in advance and understand about it. And then what you can do, you can implement this early testing as early as possible. So because of this, again, the defects in the requirement or the design phase can be captured very easily. And we already know it is very cheaper to fix the defect in the early stages. This is what we know. So in the requirement or architecture, when you fix a defect, it's like 1x. When it goes for coding, it's 5x. In SIT, that is integration testing, system testing, then see in the production, it is almost like 30x of a normal cost. So when we come with this early testing, definitely we are going to reduce overall project cost. So is it in your hand means two cases will come. First case, what is the model used in your organization? Still they are following a waterfall model means it is your duty to understand in depth about the requirement, architecture diagram, and try to write an effective test case early. When the testing phase starts, try to come with as much as questions for the dev team to understand the requirement and start the testing. But if other than this, if your organization using V module or agile, you don't need to worry, because in this model, either V or agile, definitely from the starting itself, you are going to involve in all the technical discussion. Mostly in the agile team, testing team used to tell this thing to me, man, we are testing team, why these guys are linked to the development team discussion, these guys talking about dev stuff for 2 hours, it is totally waste of time. Like that, this is something I used to hear most of the time. But trust me, try to understand what is the system they are trying to test it. Then only based on the application, you can write a proper test case. It is not like if I am a functional tester, that's it. This is line is like I should not touch any technical stuff. If you have that mindset, then it is going to be very tough going forward, because now agile, DevOps and all came into the picture. It means you are the one going to write the manual test case and automation test case. It means what? You play both role of dev and testing guy. So try to involve in this agile discussion and understand how this system is developed. So that's the first one, early testing. So the company organization model itself will decide this. This is what the next one. testing is context dependent. Very, very, very important one, actually, to be frank. And good part is we have something called SME, BA. These are all the roles you would have heard about it. Subject matter expert. The person will know in and out about the particular, uh, what to say, particular project, how it is developed. Usually, well experienced guys, they will be SME or business analyst. They try to analyze the business. So this two role you have to play it. What here they are saying is, if you want to test it, we have so many domains like banking, insurance, medical, travel, advertisement, healthcare. That is nothing but the medical. We have so many domains, no doubt on it. Telecom. Remember, the way you test a banking application, the way you test a medical or healthcare application are not same. This is the first thing you should remember, because there are so many methodologies, so many testing technique we have it. We are going to discuss in upcoming classes. So it will vary. Definitely, it will vary according to the applications. You have to use the respective one. And again, this is how to test a banking application, how to test an healthcare application, how to test some other application and all. It's not a part of a syllabus because it's a domain based testing. What I will do, I will try to find some very good content. As of now, Guru 99 is my favorite website. Most of the content are prepared from them. I will give courtesy. And also, they have something like how will you test in something like a healthcare application, something like in banking applications. So that thing you should learn it before going into the testing. That is something like from your side, after completing all these portions, you have to learn how will you test a banking. To be frank, testing a banking application and attending a banking interview is quite complex when compared to other domains. So here, again, also for each domain, their applications, their requirement function, the testing purpose, risk technique, everything has different. It varies from one domain to another domain. That is why different domains are tested differently. Thus, testing purely based on the context of the domain or application. This is something very, very, very important. Why this is important? Now let's put in terms of interview and some positive thing. If you are a manual tester, sometimes you will have like 6 years, 7 years of experience. You will always have that fear, right? Oh my God, without knowing the automation, will I survive? If you have that type of thought process, what you can become domain expert like subject matter expert, BA. And for example, for 5 years, you're working in a banking means you have a very good depth knowledge about that particular banking application. So what the advice I can give, don't try to change your domain. In that domain, if you're there for 9 years, 10 years, then definitely you are one of the hard cake of that particular organization, especially for planning, testing of that particular type of a domain. So this is a positive way. You already have it. And again, to above that, learn the automation, be in the same domain. Don't try to change the domain here and there, because some big organization, they will give a project release. Sometimes in some company you can't leave, but there are some companies I know you will work in healthcare, suddenly move to the banking, suddenly move to the some other. I have worked in such a way like that also, but the problem is that is good only for the automation tester. If you're a manual side, please don't do that. Okay, that's a fast good thing. Now, when let's talk about the automation testing. Okay, why are we discussing this much? Means you have something called resume or CV, right? In that you are going to choose a already you will say like I worked in automation in my organization. If you are from BPO, KPO, you will say like we did testing in my company, or you may be from different or you may not have that much exposure to a manual testing, but still we have to tell in interview like, I will do both the manual testing and automation testing. If you tell this line alone, you will get a job. You should not say like, no, I will do only automation testing. I was doing only automation testing for a long time means then you will not be considered, because agile, scrum, DevOps, it's all about both automation and manual testing done by a single resource. So what you should do is, for example, you are preparing a resume, make sure if you really have a banking experience alone, make put that, or else please don't mention. Learning about a banking application is not at all easy, and it is a very wide open area. If they ask some question, you will face tough, very, very tough. So I don't prefer you guys to pick this project, because in resume, you're going to say 2 project, 3 project. One is from healthcare, one is from insurance, whatever it is. When you mention such projects here, after completing, first go and try to understand. For example, I worked in a healthcare project. You're going to mention last 2 years healthcare. Before that, I was in the telecommunication. If that is like 2 project, if you mention in your resume means, please make sure how to test like healthcare application, how to test what is that, healthcare, and before that telecommunication. You must know that, because they will ask you, you were in the automation, right? You have created the test script. What is an approach you have followed? So they may go in depth when when you project your resume with part 50-50, like 3 years automation, 2 years manual testing. Like that only usually everyone will project and get the job. If that is the case, please make sure you have a very good depth knowledge about your domain. That is not a part of a training. It is your responsibility to go and explore it. If you are very good in this assignment, doing a damn good job means, then you can tell like, I was fully involved in the automation from the starting onwards. If you mention that, a lot of questions will come, but only from the technical part. So how your resume you're going to mention are context dependent. Keep this point in your mind. Sometimes context dependent. Sometimes some of the company will take only the healthcare guys. So this also will vary. So this point is very important. Those who are trying for a job and want to enter into automation, just note it down. 2 points. First point, it is healthy testing. Organization will take care of it. Second one is context dependent. That is the way you do the testing of one domain will not be the same for another domain. So what we have to, I'm going to prepare a resume of my favorite domain. Usually everyone will put telecom, healthcare, because those things are not so much exposed. But if you put banking, it is so much exposed means many big shot guys, they know that SME guys are aware about all the tough component system, how they developed that particular application. So that's why banking guys, no one will put banking thing. For the safer side, choose any other domain. For that domain, how you're going to test it, just you have to learn by yourself. I'll try to find some good blogs and share you and update in the Canvas portal as I well as done. Now, third one, what that? Exhaustive testing is not possible. Very important. This is actually, to be a frank, how you will use your common sense. Exhaustive testing means what? You're going to test an application, a functionality of a software. If that is the say, that is a thing, you have to give some positive values, some negative values, nothing but valid and input, invalid inputs, valid inputs, to check whether it is working properly or not. In the name field, it should not accept special character. In the phone number field, it should not accept the characters. Like that makes sense, right? So some valid and input valid. Sorry, some valid input and invalid inputs. So you have to find that. But again, how many numbers will I give? One small example. This may not be 100% relevant, but I'll try to explain with this one. You want to enter, you want to test. The application is all about entering the age. The age must be between 18 to 30. This is what they said. Leave about this 2 to incremental. Focus on what I say, what I explain. This is the range means what is the combination of a data you can give. Just think about it. You can start from 0 till 17 as an invalid, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And from 18 to 30, it should work, positive scenario. From 30, age means still 100 also we can make it, 100 or 80. So is it possible to test with all 100 values? Definitely it is not possible. That is what they are saying. Testing, exhaustive testing is not possible. Okay, then what is the solution means? There comes the testing technique. That is the last part, which I will teach you. In this example, we have something called n minus 1, n plus 1. This is the concept we will apply. If we apply that concept, what is this? n minus 1, n plus 1 for 2 range. If we apply this, just 6 values is enough to test this age factor. So n means what? 18. N minus 1, 17. N plus 1, 20. We call this as a boundary value analysis. Then here 30, n minus 1, 29, n plus 1, 31. So during the testing, if you test for these 6 values, it is sufficient to say that the age field is working properly. Anyhow, we are going to see this in depth. Just I'm giving you an insight about it. That is what the third one, the exhaustive testing is not possible. It is not possible to test all the functionalities with all the valid and invalid combination of input data during the actual testing. Instead of this approach, testing of few combinations is considered based on the using different technique. We have 5 techniques, 5 different testing technique. I will teach you very soon. So that is the one you have to apply it. Again, where we will apply, definitely after the during the requirement analysis. If you are going to join a company and suddenly your background is from the healthcare and you're going into banking, first try to understand how banking domains works. Then in that you have to apply this technique. Then only your test case will be effective. So 3 point we are done. Now comes the fourth one. Just give me a second. I saw the text. Okay, fine. What is defect clustering? This is an art actually. This is a secret of all the senior resources. They will never teach us. But I'm just saying you in the starting itself, you are a fresher means try to find the secret in the project. I will tell you the cheat code. First of all, what is a defect clustering? There is something called Pareto principle. What this says, 80% of the problems are found in the 20% of the modules. Just one simple example, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have a 4 modules. In this 4 modules, just let's consider every module is having like 30 test case. Just imagine, just for assumption, 30 test case means 120 test case, you have it. So, but which is the first module should I start? 120 means daily, 10 only you can execute it. That is the reality. 10, 10, 10 or 12, like that you have the code. But how can I start the best module which is having a more defect? How can you find it? Means 2 ways you can find based on the previous regression report. So what that says is 80% of the defect. So when you have a module in that, there will be some module in this example overdraft. That module will have more defects. So if you want to decide to go, what you need to do first, try to find the defect clustering area. How will you do it? Very simple. You join the project, you will be giving an access to Jira or ALM, application lifecycle management. These two are majorly used in the organization. Just go to the previous regression releases, filter the defect, which defect is referring to which requirement. Requirement means again it comes for the module. From that you can able to, but again it is a time consuming thing. But if you put effort on that analysis, your testing going to be very easier. So you will analyze for last three releases. Definitely by seeing all the defects, you can find that defect clustering, the module which made entire team to struggle in simple way, that you can find it. That's why they used to say the senior guy, when he or she start the testing, not to pick the most complicated defects. How it is possible is, one is based on the experience, intuition. Okay, it's like a guessing game. Every release I'm testing it, I know this payment module or something will fail. I have that thought process in my mind, means next release I will start with the payment. That experienced resource will do it. But what about the freshers? This is the trick. What you have to do, check it in the ALM or Jira, last three releases, analyze the defects, find the modules. Mostly like 2 to 3 modules will be there. Note it down. You are putting an effort, you no need to tell to others. When you start the testing, try to start with these modules. You will try to find a lot of defects. Okay, what is that? What is a big impact in that? Too big impact. When you raise a defect on day one, dev team is getting more time actually. So it means what? We have 10 days of execution phase, means they have 10 days to fix this complicated issues. Okay, that why should I worry about dev guys? My duty, let me put that in the ninth day. All important defect means, you may think you will not suffer, but trust me, no one, if the release date is on day 11, that date we have to release it, means you, what happened last 2 to 3 days means dev team will sit for 24 into 7. At that time testing team must sit, no other go. So if you put some critical defect in the starting, dev team will have more time, and so they will give us, again we will retest it. Remember, day 9 also you will have your own productivity, plus retesting will be there. So what is the biggest benefit? You will have a very smooth way of running the project. But if you put critical defects at the end, everyone is going to struggle. They will simply say 10 o'clock, like 10 p.m. man, I put a build. Your manager will not leave you to go. He or she will ask you to, please, can you please sit and do it? So because we have to release the project. Such type of complicated issues we can avoid it by following this defect clustering. That is what they are saying. We state that a small number of modules contains most of the defect. So it is, we have to go and find what is that module by seeing the previous regression release, regression testing, sanity, whatever it is, that we have to check it. And that is the first test case we have to start it. And this application, we call that as a Pareto principle to software testing. So what that says, 80% of the problems, nothing but defects, are found in 20% of the module. So this is one example. Fourth thing we are done. So let me tell, early testing, it's about the model, which is not in our hand. Testing is a context dependent. This is, we have to do it. No one is going to teach us. Exhaustive testing is not possible. We have to do it. Testing technique, we will learn it. This is actually easy actually. This one only quite complex. Defect clustering, no big, based on experience or else old report. Make things easier. Okay. Fourth thing is done. Let's focus on the fifth one. Pesticide paradox. Agriculture guys knows one thing. They use pesticides to kill this unwanted insects, right? Which spoils the crop or whatever it is. If you keep using the same pesticides, what will happen? This crop will get adapted to that particular pesticides. So when you put that, nothing is going to happen because you're using same pesticides again and again. This will get adapted to that. Another example, you have seen some mosquitoes sitting above that good night that we used to put, right? Good night liquid. How, whatever, how come possible? Because now that mosquito got adapted to that particular one. Same way, what is the alternative way? We have to keep changing it. Same thing will applicable to even for testing also. If we test same set of repetitive tests conducted, the method will be useless for discovering a new defect. Same test case you are using again and again, maybe for once, twice, that's fine. But again and again, same thing, if you do it, that's it. At one point of time, your test case will be outdated. What is the meaning? Outdated. How can you solve this? Very simple common sense. To overcome this, test case needs to be regularly reviewed, revised, adding new or different scenarios to help to find the more defect. Actually, so many scenarios will comes in the project. One is because of lazy mindset, you will not do this work. Another one because of work burden. If you have a lot of work burden, usually this issue will come. This is the major reason. Laziness is something very rare one because you have to do the testing, manager will be asking something, you have to report to lead, you have to retest it. Meanwhile, how can you go and update the documentation? That is something very tough, right? So whenever during the testing some new requirement changes will happen, just note it. Note it. You note it in a not any notepad or wherever. Once the entire testing is done, what you should do is you have to, when you analyze the defect, see, it is a chain of reaction. You're going to analyze the defect to find the defect clustering. At that time itself, this will give you an idea about why this new defect came because of requirement change. Okay, requirement change. No, for this requirement change, whether we have updated test case or not. No, then do it. If you do it, definitely in the next cycle, you're going to find a new defect. Okay, what is a big impact if I am not doing it? There is something already I said, defect leakage. If you're not updating your test case, you may miss the defect. If you miss that defect, you will get the escalation last rating. This is a reality. So don't be lazy. Whatever be the work burden, what you need to do, once the project is get over, why this defect comes, why this defect from these many, this particular module, is there any change in the requirement or is the change in some other thing? Try to find it out and note it down accordingly. Go and update your test case again. No, this is not a part of any estimation, but additional thing you must do it. If you do it, definitely next time you're going to create a better test case, manual test case. Again, is it important for an automation tester? Means obviously, if you're going to work in a DevOps or an agile, means first you should do this test case only you are going to automate it. What is the greatest advantages when you go for a regression testing, when you go for a retest the defect, you no need to do it manually, just run the suit. So that's the advantage when we apply automation here. So pesticide paradox, keep updating. Testing shows the presence of defect. This is the something you would have came across in your life. All the advertisement will say 99.9 percentage, 99.9999. But have you heard anyone saying 100 percentage in any of the advertisement? In my life, I never seen anything. If anyone tell 100 percentage, this will do it. That's it. A person will try to do a testing in that what some 0.01 percentage gems will be there. He can put a case against this company. So as a nature itself, is the reality is we can't kill 100% germs or whatever it is. 100% efficiency is impossible. So 99.99, something will be missed. That is what testing shows, the presence of defect. So the main objective of testing is to find more and more hidden defects using different techniques and methods, which we are going to learn in upcoming classes. After implementing that, you found the defect, you completed as per the requirement. So testing can reveal. So our duty is to find that undiscovered defect, which is not found by others. You found it, you fixed it, then you gave to the prod. So that doesn't mean if no defects found, it does not mean the software is defect free. Even after doing QA1 environment, QA2, pre-prod, production, SIT, UAT, even you can find the defect in the production. It's possible. So that is what they are saying. Every testing shows the presence of defect. I can't say, I never say it is 100% bug-free software. You have seen Elon, right? The world richest first person, able to do this right, 100% best product. He also, his product also got launched and got something defect in that. Even for him means normal software, what will happen? So that is what everything. It is not about the money. It is about the nature rule. That's the reality. You can't say something as a 100% bug free. Some bug will be there. Sometimes we can find it. Sometimes client will find it. Sometimes customer will find it. We don't know. But how can I escape? Or if someone comes and blames me, why this defect is not tested means, so how can you escape is only one way: test according to the requirement. To that requirement, you are coming up with lot of scenarios, test steps, test cases. This is what you did. You got the approval from the stakeholders. That is what you tested. You found those defects in the all the previous environment, and then when it comes in the prod, it is not an issue. But they comes up with a defect which you missed means, which is according to the requirement. Very important. Everything here talks about requirement. If you tested according to requirement, no one is going to shout at you. At that time, what you will say, see, I have tested according to the requirement, everything is perfect. In production, if it is coming means because of, you will say maybe some code change or some application change. So no one will scold you because they itself know it is not 100% bug free. They know this is a reality. Every testing team you go and ask, there will be a production defect. Those defects they never came across even in pre-prod. But why we are getting in production means it's again a nightmare. Seventh, absence of defect. Again, if a software is tested fully and no defects are found, you tested it, you're saying no defect, then we can say the software is 99%, again no 100%, it's a defect free means no, it's not possible. If it's not possible, if the software is tested for the wrong requirement. See, you are saying I have tested, then you are saying okay, I have tested, no defect, it is 100% perfect. If you say it, that's not possible in the absence of, that is what they say. What if the software is tested again a wrong requirement? So it doesn't mean no defect means the application is good. No defect means that is our absence of error means it's a great thing. Nothing like that. Everything again they are mapping it to the word called requirement. So if you test according to the requirement, you will get a defect. Sometimes you may not get a defect, but you should not assume like it's a defect free means. Then again, this is what same step they are coming up in a different meaning. In such case, even finding defect, fixing them on the time would not help as testing is performed on wrong requirement, which is not as per the needs of the end user. So the software which we build, not only 100% bug free. So your thought process should not be like, hey man, no defect, it is great. Nothing like that. We have to make sure we are testing according to the business requirement. Then if you find it, then it's well and good. But the requirement itself, it is wrong, means then there is no use of saying that. So these are all the some important, not some important, these are all the 7 important principles of the testing. You must keep it in your mind. So this according to the model, domain knowledge, testing technique, defect clustering, old report, paradox means outdated, outdated test case, based on the new defect, based on the requirement change, you have to update it. And these two is just they are saying like, don't take it for granted that you tested, you found all the defect or there is no defect. Don't be so happy. There will be some defect in that. Sometimes you may not test it according to the requirement. So for us, what is very, very important is this one, this one, this one, this one. This is something you should keep applying it every testing. It's a sanity, it's a regression, whatever the types of testing, try to apply this for. Rest of the things are part of the principles. So that's about the software testing principles. I need a small message from the Zoom team. Is everyone understood software testing principles? Mega, I'm not unable to get your question. It is also possible that when you had done only 40% testing, because 100 is not possible, so you will never be. Can you please reiterate this line? I'm unable to get the meaning of it. Yeah, everyone clear from the YouTube team? All clear about 7 testing principles. Those who are already in the experienced resource, this is going to be like a refreshing class, a recap on previous old topics. Okay, let's wait for the reply from YouTube team. So we are done. We are entered into the testing area. I need some reply from YouTube. Just a minute. 14 of them watching. Yes, clear. Okay. Thank you. I think Satish, thank you, Satish, for replying. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Theory only. Again, this is a theory. That is why I'm trying to bring all some practical examples so that it won't bore you. But try to correlate or visualize, then it will be easier for you. Now, the next topic is testing levels and the methods. First of all, what is a functional testing? See, remember, manual testing having a 2 division. One is functional testing, another one is non-functional testing. This itself, most of the guys doesn't know it. Non-functional testing means like performance testing, load testing. So many levels of testing are there. Most of the non-performance testing, if you go for the automation, the tools will be totally different. For example, for load testing, we have different tools. But for functional testing, we have wide range of tools like Selenium, UFT. So you must know a clear idea about which type of a testing you're doing it for that particular application, whether it's functional testing or non-functional testing. Let's try to. This training is all about the functional testing. Non-functional testing like load, performance, stress testing. We have almost 100 plus testing. So like security testing, so many things are there, which is not a part of syllabus. Most of the job opportunities are around the functional testing. So that's why for this we have created functional testing. Functional testing is the process through which QA determines if the piece of software is according to the predetermined requirement. Same thing. Again and again, the same word will come. Is it according to the requirement? Is it according to the requirement? Simply we can, no, it is not about functional testing. Either it's a functional testing or non-functional testing. When you will say it is working aspect, the expected as according to the requirement. What we have a different tools have, anyhow, this one, this is first slide, right? I'll be showing a lot of types of testing. At the end, you will get more clarity. As of now, just imagine we are doing GUI testing, graphical user interface testing, front end testing, like that you put it. Again, what you will test it? You will test it. Piece of software, actual and expected are same. That is what you have automated in the Selenium. Then, what is the technique it uses is black box testing. I will explain this. So we have three types. One is black box, another one is white box, and we have a gray box. Black box testing means it is done by the QA team. That is, you give an input and what is the output. We have the expected output. So we usually testing team will never worry about the coding. It is not at all important for me what is an internal, whether you use Java or Python does not mean, that does not matter for me. I give a value whether that age is accepting or not. That is what my testing front end. So I'm giving an input and checking for the expected output, not about the code. We call black box testing. White box testing is done by the dev team. That is, whether the logic is used properly or not. It is nothing but a unit testing. Anyhow, I'm going to cover it. Before that itself, I'm giving a heads up. Gray means it's a black plus white box testing. Simple. So all the functional testing is concerned, comes in the black box testing. So what is the good thing about this is smoke testing in interview. I will come to that very soon. We have depth about smoke, sanity, regression. First show you. These are all the things I'm going to cover. So like system testing, smoke testing, you may have a lot of queries, right? You have to wait for 1 or 2 days. Everything I'm going to cover in depth. It is not just an overview, in depth. So you have to wait till that. First, let's try to understand the fundamentals. We understood what is a functional testing, and there are some advantages if we do that. First, we'll read some important points. It is essential to evaluate whether the performance and the functionality of the software is working according to the real case. It's because the developer thought process will be different according to the coding logic. But when we write a test case, we will think like I am the customer. If I am going to use this product, how what I will do, positive, negative scenario. According to that only, you will write a test case. So when we do the functional testing only, we will understand that. So before it delivered to end user, and it is performed from the again on the perspective of the user, which allows the development team to create a test scenario that represent the real world scenarios. So of course we have to give some input to them. Then only they can also implement our thought process in their coding concept. What are all the exception handling? I should do it. Oh, this is what a user will do. A user can give these many negative values also. Possibilities are there, right? Accordingly, they can build it. These are the advantages and allows the team to meet the requirement of the user as well as the client. It helps the real usage of the system and increases the software quality. Well, easy, straightforward point. Disadvantage. Sometimes we think about functionality, but not the logical errors. Like are because you're saying without even understanding, you're saying if you put, for example, you have to calculate EMI of a month, EMI of loan. What you do it here, literally, you will give all the input parameter. Finally, it will come with EMI. Are we doing any calculation here? Really, no. We are not doing any calculation here. But still, there is a possibility of a logical errors, right? Yeah, we have. So that is what they are saying. Functional testing can miss as critical as well as logical errors. Possibilities are there. What if there is some formula is wrong? which a developer forgot to do it. Possibilities there. The possibility of conducting redundant testing is high. That is, redundant testing means same thing you're doing it again and again without updating your test case. That is what I said, 7 principle, you have to apply it. Then this problem will be resolved. This is quite complicated. It is not easy to resolve. And the testing cannot guarantee the readiness of the software to go live. Again, this is a 7 principle. After testing also, we can't say this is perfect. Sometimes we may test a wrong requirement, some other issues also we will get it. Okay, when we talk about a functional testing, this is divided into these many levels. Actually, when we talk about types of testing, we have unit testing, integration testing, system testing, user acceptance testing. Only these are all the types of testing. Types of testing. This is functional testing. Inside this, I am trying to insert all other things like, for example, smoke testing. Here, after smoke testing, there will be sanity testing. After sanity, we will have a regression testing. So these are all the types of testing I have inserted. That is a part of a testing. But when we talk about levels, only we have 4 levels: unit, integration, system, user acceptance. So every module, every types we are going to see it. In that, I'm going to insert the sanity, smoke, regression, all the stuff. Okay. Now what we will do it here itself, the testing is done by QA and the dev team. This unit testing, this level, the coding part, this is done by the dev team. Remember, this is done by the dev team, unit testing. So you will have like different modules. Every module, it needs to be tested. Okay, let's put it. Can you all able to see this notepad? Can someone please confirm it? Can you someone confirm from Zoom? Can you able to see this notepad? The requirement. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Achana. So what we are saying in the previous class, we took the example of Flipkart. In the Flipkart, so you can rewatch that video. First login page. Of course, before that, we have to register the user. So login page before that, or in that, we have to register the user. And once you log in, filter combination. You can choose different product. You can compare it. You can check the ratings and reviews, product selections. You can have to give a, once you pay it, payment mode is there. You have to give a delivery address, what is the cost of that, and track the order. So these are all the important modules: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whichever to the product, mobile, dress, clothes, whatever, almost 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 modules we have it. Exactly what will happen in the dev team is, let me show you. They will be having 10 developers. Let's keep it a simple calculation. So 10 developer means not all the 10 developers will do the dev, guys. Only 8 members will do the development and 2 of them will do the testing. And a dev guys do a testing. We call that as unit testing or white box testing. So what exactly they will do is, they will check whether the logic is working or not. The logic or the concept or the formula, whatever it is, whether it is working according to the requirement. Requirement for what they are doing, module wise. See, these are all module wise, not like they integrated nothing. Module wise, they are doing it. So this is what the white box testing, module wise. See, in the unit testing, this is what they will do. Okay, now we will see. I have showed you a real-time example. We will go through the. So White box testing means testing of a software solutions, internal coding and infrastructure, because you have a lot of interfaces. Since we completed Java, you know what is an interface. Multiple interfaces, we have different. One is like one interface API belongs to the delivery team, maybe third party. Another one belongs to the payment that will pay Paul. Different interfaces we will have. When you connect all the interfaces, how this data going to work, so they test that particular one. It's primarily focus on strengthening the security, the flow of input output through the application, and improve the design. And we have so many names for white box testing. These are all for the just for knowledge purpose. Clear box testing, open, structural, transparent box, code based, glass box. So we can, this is called the white box testing, which is nothing but the unit testing done by the dev team. Again, it is done during the development, coding of the application. And they do module wise, module only, they call it as unit, another name. So the objective of unit testing is to isolate the session of the code and verify its correctness. The procedural program unit, maybe individual function or procedure, whatever it is. The main goal of that is when you test as an isolate each part, it should work according to the requirement. So they will never test all the product together. They will never do that. They will test only module by module. In our example, we have 10 modules. So they will test it. Okay. Actually, they will have their own defect tracking tool. They will write a defect because they have to tell, right? These are all the defects they found. This is something, all the discussion happens in the dev side. The defect will be shown to the management. Dev manager will be there. Okay, these are the modules getting trouble. Like that, some discussion will happen. They will come with some root cause analysis. They will improve all their coding standard, cross-wise training, and make sure how can we reduce such type of defects. So this will happen. After this, what they will do, they will integrate and deploy it in the environment, in the testing environment. I'll put testing environment. So this is what dev team will say. Build is ready. Build is ready. Start the testing. This word you can able to hear when you're in the QA team. It means what? This we already know in the GitHub session and Jenkins. I taught you what we will do. They will run the file using their Maven project. They will check is there any error. After testing is done, after that they will use JUnit framework. They also use the automation framework. They use JUnit, we use TestNG, but TestNG is the upgraded version, to be frank. And using that framework, they will test it. Finally, jar file will be created. They will install it in the server and give it to the testing team. That particular URL only, we call that as an environment. So in that only, we will start the testing. So they have tested what? Module wise. So why you have to do the unit testing? Very simple, common sense. Early defect, less cost. That's it. So that is why developer attempt to save time by doing minimal unit testing. The myth, because for example, by chance, if they skip this particular testing, means what will happen? We will get a lot of defects in system integration testing. So because of that, the cost and money will be a big problem for that. But when they find defect, good defect in the early stage, means we know the rule. How early you find a defect, we can save the cost. Also, we are done with the development team, what they are doing. Now we are just going to focus on the testing point of view, that is black box testing. Already we discussed this. You're going to give an input. What is the expected output? That is called black box testing. So in which the functionality of the software under test is tested without looking the internal code. We don't worry about the code implementation. It is not at all a part of our problem. You just going to test as an user by giving an input. What is the output? We will compare with the expected result. Actual and expected, both are same. It is passed. If you do using automation script, then automation testing, we can give the name. So that's called the black box testing. Here only we have many things. Now we are going to focus on the first level unit test testing is done. Now we are moving into the second level, that is integration testing. Okay. What is integration testing? Okay, we have these many modules, right? Now they have integrated. After integrated, everything, they will give it as a single URL. Now we have to check whether all the integration testing is working properly or not. So in the integration testing, individual software modules are integrated logically and tested as script. So this is again the typical software project consists of multiple software coded by different program. Again, why you want integration testing? Because dev team will have, in our example, you can see 8 developers. So 8 developer, it is not like all 8 developer will be of same knowledge. Some may, even in the automation you saw in the assignment, right? Some of them doing so good in, some of them missing variable naming convention, some of them not following reporter system. So same way, even in the, either it's a Java developer or whatever be the programming language, not everyone will be equally knowledge. Some may do mistakes. So all these things, loophole, we can able to find it in the integration testing. So integration testing focus on checking the data communication. So mainly you have integrated multiple application. After integrating multiple application, when you supply an input, is it able to get the output? So in this module, what is the integration testing? You are going to register a user. So registering a user means what? You will have user ID. This will be saved to, what will happen? Saved to DB. Using this, if you log in, that alone it should show. It should not show some other thing, that it should work. Then you're trying to search, this is all independent. Now what you're doing, you're from here only, again the integration starts. When you able to add product select, pay it, then what will happen? Everything from here, this cost should come to the delivery address, and with offer same, it should replicate. Then you do a payment, this address should be according to that, then only we can able to get it on time. These are all integrated modules. So we will be testing it logically, whether this logically working or not, like end-to-end scenario. So that is what, hence it is also termed as INT, integration and testing. Another word, string testing or thread testing. Why we have to do same thing? It is designed by individual software developer who understanding and programming logic may be different from other programmers. So actually integration testing is very important, able to make sure, yes, every module is working as per the requirements. That's a good thing. At the time of module development, there is a wide change. Then again, another main reason is this 8 developers, it's not like they will also communicate, they know everything. No, they will focus on their own modules. Even this is applicable in manual testing. You take a big manual testing team, there may be 100 members team, 10 modules. It is not like this module guy will know everything about manual testing, not at all. That particular person aware about that module, that particular domain. So this type of issues will happen in the dev guys also. 50 requirement means he or she can't remember all the 50 requirement. So what will happen? Sometimes clients will discuss with some of the developer that information would have missed to come for others, even for the testing members. So change in requirement is again a big trouble. So these types of issues we can find it in integration testing. So whenever there is no requirement may not be unit tested, hence if we missed it in the unit testing, we will can pick that issues in the integration testing. So that is the main reason. One reason is because of individual programmer coding logic. Another reason is change in the requirement by the client, which is not communicated to everyone. Many possibilities are there. Change in requirement is something very, what to say, irritating thing for both testers and the developers. And again, interfaces of the software modules with the database could be erroneous. So many integrations there, hardware, software interfaces we have it. And whether they have added adequate exception and handling, that is also a question. If you see like 10 years before you go to SBI bank, you withdraw a cash. Sometimes cash will not be there. In the same ATM room, you will have a code. Each code will say what is the reason, insufficient fund, or maybe server down, whatever. Actually, this I have seen it in SBI. Now you go out to the whichever the bank, what will happen? It will clearly tell what is the reason for that. Nothing but they handle the exception. In case no sufficient, rather than saying a code which is not at all useful for the customer, better say the reason or just say one word, server is down. So we can understand some extent. So this is called exception handling. Again, this is important in terms of automation testing also. We have seen exception handling in Java. So this is the reason why we need the integration testing. We already seen an example of integration testing using Flipkart. One more example, you have to check the Gmail. So when you open a Gmail, first interface, login, and you see the inbox. So when you enter the credentials, it will show this is your inbox. Here, when you delete a mail, what it should happen? It should move to the trash folder. Again, inbox, then trash folder, then login. So this integration is properly happening or not. We can able to find that link between mailbox and delete mail module. So these are all the integration simple examples. Okay. I said the meaning of integration testing, how we are going to approach. This is something very, very important. When you write a test case, and again, this will vary according to the company, according to the project, methodologies. We have two ways to test the integration testing. One is Big Bang approach and an incremental approach. Before that, everyone understood what is integration testing. Shall we move on to the strategies? Please reply me, Zoom team. Meanwhile, I'll check YouTube guys. So many comments. System testing will cover it out. Black box can check functions, application only. Okay. Can you all pursue testing class or learn from? Yes, I have learned many things from YouTube only. Udemy. Thank you, someone. Good luck. Thank you. Positive, negative function, black box. Yes, in BPT, we should test the functionality. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Swati, Neha, Samji, and Lily. Thank you, guys. I read your comments. Okay, I got a reply. You guys understood what is integration testing. Let's move to the approaches. So many good. No. Then automation, manual testing count as high nowadays. Okay, what is a Big Bang? What is incremental? Big Bang means all the components are integrated once and tested. Nothing but waterfall model. In waterfall model only, we will get all the product and okay, start the testing. So when you put it into this example, so they have done all, they have integrated everything and gave it in a single shot. Okay, what you have to do? You test the entire application. So that is called Big Bang approach. Actually, this is good if it is a small system, but if you're going to have a very big application, rather than saying big, large scale application, it is not at all easy. So we have drawbacks here. Fault localization is difficult. This is very important. Right? Fault localization means in our example, you have these 10 modules. In these 10 modules, it is if we do some other way, that is the next approach, it is easy for us to identify out of this 10 which module is troubling us. It is very, that is called fault localization. We can able to able to identify it. That is very difficult when you test as an entire application, because since the integration testing can commence only after all the modules are designed, testing team have another problem. We will have a very less time in the testing phase. Because of that, definitely quality of the software will reduce. Since all modules are tested at once, what if then we are not equally giving the importance to all the modules? To be frank, out of this 10 modules, which is the most important module for any company will be payment module, and then product selection module, track the order. These three are most important. But when you go for a big bang, you are giving equal importance to everything. Equality here, it is not good actually. We have to focus more on the one which is very important, which is having a risk factor, high risk factor. Such type of things is not possible in the big bang approach. Since all modules are tested once, that is what high risk critical modules are not isolated or tested on priority. Again, if you apply the defect clustering mechanism, then only you can identify critical things as early, but not everyone will do that. Peripheral modules which deals with the user interface are also not isolated, tested on priority. Something when you test as a full application in a single go, these are all the some problems we will be facing it. Okay, this is called big bang approach. All the waterfall model will do this, but nowadays either you take it a V module rather than putting a V module, all the agile methodology, Scrum, Kanban, whichever one, BDD. That's why BDD, behavior driven development and all become so famous because of this only incremental approach. This will help you to identify your defects very easily. Okay, first of all, what is incremental approach? Here, we are going to join, here testing is done by joining two or more modules logically and related. So if that is the case, you itself can understand we have all this 10. If I want to logically, if I want to put that, what I will do, these two are logically user ID creation able to log in. Then how can I do that? Another important product selection, payment, something very logically it should be correct. And this delivery address, track the order must be correct. You're giving something, you're unable to track it. So these are all logically you can able to see here. So like this in the like sprint, that's another word you will be learning agile process once we complete this functional testing training. Again, same thing. Agile means we have sprint, then instead of requirement, they say user story. In BDD, they say feature file. Whatever it is, in simple, they first they will try to test these things. Maybe the dev team completed register user and login page. First, we will focus on this. Try to, this is not a mod, this is not an unit testing. After integrating these two functionality, we will do an integration testing incrementally, and then we will try to do these things. Then we try to do these things. Even though we have a 10 modules, out of this 10 modules, 6 modules are very important. So what is the biggest advantage? All the problems of the big bang approach, we are able to answer it here. We can able to find where more number of defects are getting, because we are focusing on conceptually, logically, right? It is easy to identify, okay, more defects are from the payment module. And again, we are testing all critical modules initially. Because of this, at the end, when you integrate, you will have enough time for all the testing. So that is what incrementally you are doing it. All other related modules are added, tested for. Once you do these things, above that, they try to put other modules which are important but not high risk zone area. Then this process will continue once all 10 modules in the Flipkart are connected, and then they test end to end. So this is what happens in the incremental approach. In the incremental approach itself, we have three ways. One is top down, bottom up, sandwich. Okay, what is bottom up? Here, we bottom up, this is a one way. We will, maybe the developer team will first start developing deposit current balance. So 1, 1, 1, 2, 3. So from the bottom, we will start the testing. This is a very simple diagram team. If you consider in real-time scenario, you will have such a big diagram having like 10 to 11 levels of this flow chart. This is a very simple example. Banking application. You log in into the application, you have a current balance. If you deposit, the current balance should increase. If you withdraw, the current balance should decrease. Same thing will applicable for transfer. So what they do a logically, but they will start from the bottom. Okay, the deposit, you deposit and whether it is current balance is getting changed or not. Yes, it is happening. Withdrawal happening. Transfer, no, it is not happening. So we found the defect. We will discuss with them and they will try to give a fix for it. So what is the biggest advantage? We are very clear that these two modules are perfect. And defect, that localization, it is very easy now to find who is a troublemaker. This transfer model is a troublemaker. So if dev team and testing team will focus more on to this particular module. So this is like from the bottom, you will go above that, they will keep adding it, and finally at the end only login will be tested. So what is an advantage of that? Fault localization is easier, and again, no time in waiting for all the modules to develop like Big Bang. Because for example, if you want to complete that this entire application, it may take like 4 months. But this two, current and deposit, it will be completed in just 2 weeks possibility. So this is the reason why Agile started booming. Why every company is moving towards Agile, DevOps, because of this reason only. If you go to the waterfall, V model and all, it is impossible to implement it. But in Agile, first sprint, okay, let's focus on the current balance and the deposit. Just develop it. Let's try to do it. And with 2 to 4 weeks of a sprint, we can able to be ready with a readily live product. So, but the testing here, sorry, I have taken wrong way. Testing here will start from the bottom. So no time to waste. We will test everything. You no need to wait for all the application to come. It is having a drawback. What? Actually, this is a important module, no doubt on it. What if here some other like search, user, booking, these are all some important modules. What the problem is, this is tested at the end. So at the top level of the software architecture, critical modules, if it is there, means there is more. We are testing at the end. We are not giving more importance to those modules in the starting itself, right? So the possibility is that it is more chance for defect. That's a problem. And another problem is early prototype, that is working product, we will not have it in the bottom up. What is working prototype means? End to end. Here we have end to end. Here in sense, Big Bang, entire application they will give. But this is not, you will not have, sometimes you will not have an idea what you're doing, what you're testing, how the entire application will be developed in terms of a development, I'm saying, and even in terms of the testing. But application will not be there, no prototype. So that's the problem if we go with the bottom up approach. Prototype means not end to end, you can't test it. So that's a problem. So You note it down. This is very important interview question. What is a problem with the bottom-up approaches? You will not have a prototype. Then comes the next one. That is called top-down. From the top, you are going to test 1, 2, 3. Okay, here we are going to bring a new guy called stub. Okay, what is this stub? Actually, right now, this is most for the dev side. Even nowadays, testing side, they are doing some courses on mock-till framework, so Mockito framework. So many frameworks we have it that all talks about stub. What actually stub is? Now, same development team created the code for login application and then current balance and deposit. So this is developed. Now this is not developed, right? What they can do is they create a stub, like a, since you already know Java basics, like a simple Java file, they create a class called withdraw Java. In that class, they will put like sysout withdrawal process is done. Like that, they create a, this is nothing but a dummy class or like a sort of a clone. You can put a dummy one. It is not having any functionality, but when you give the product to the testing team, you will able to what to say, move the data through that each modules. That is what top down approach using the stub. Note down this keyword. I think after 1 or 2 years, the stub will be a part of most of the manual testing. We also will learn how these stubs are created, because when you know how these stubs are created, then only we can accordingly write the test case. As of now, this is under the dev team. Dev team will use JUnit. Of course, above that, they have Mockito, so many frameworks available in the market. With that, they create all these stubs. Withdraw, transfer. So what is the biggest advantages? Again, what is the advantage? We are testing it from the top. So it is again easy to localize the error. This is what the important. We can able to obtain an early prototype. If you see in the bottom up, we are seeing only deposit and current balance, not the entire prototype. But when you implement the stub concept in top down, you are seeing the entire application. May not this withdrawal will not work, transfer will not work, but dummy things are created. Actually, same concept, even it is used in the web services. They create a dummy thing. You can, that is a server. You can send a request, get the response. That response may be a dummy response, not according to the logically, but still you can interact with all types of application. Same concept, even web service, we will see it. So this is what top-down approach will do that. Critical modules are tested on priority. Major design flaws could be found and fixed. So this is again advantage. Drawback. What if if we have the critical modules at the bottom, means we don't have sufficient time to test it. And another thing, this is a very simple example. I have used only 2 steps, but in real time scenario, you have to come up with a lot of steps. So before itself, you have to come with like 30 modules, means you can understand how many class files, how it should do it. A lot of backend works needs to be done for the dev team. So that's a quite disadvantage when we go with the top-down approach. So finally, these guys came up with something called sandwich. Okay, this is a problem, right? You're saying if you go with the bottom up, we may miss some critical modules here. If you go with top down, we will miss some critical modules in the bottom. So what I will do is I will create something called sandwich testing or hybrid module, so that you will start testing from the top and testing from the bottom. Again, here also stub will be there. Stub will be in the middle. So many stub will be used. But what is an advantage of this is we will get the advantage of everything. Because if you see here, modules at the lower level or modules at the top level is not tested, that will be resolved. And prototype, that is also possible, because in the top down the prototype is there. Of an integration testing, it is done in the most of the organization, specifically in the agile team. If you're going to work in Scrum, Kanban and all this is an approach you have to follow. You should be having sync with the dev team, even though we don't like technical discussion meetings, but at time only they will be discussing what are all the modules, what is the stuff they are going to use it, how many stuffs they will use it. If you know that alone, or else you can put some question, can you please tell what are all you are going to use the stuff. They will be first impressed on that. Okay, they will say, okay, these are all the modules we are going to focus. These modules will have a stub. It means what? It will not have the real functionality. Some dummy guy will give you some response. Either it's a GUI, it's a web service testing. This is the tricks they will follow it. So in the integration testing, what is the final conclusion here is, we have many, as an once integrated, we are going to do the testing. At that time, we have two way. One is big bang, testing entire application. Another one incremental, which comes the agile process, where top down, bottom up, sandwich. Three methodologies. Mostly everyone will use this only. Depends upon the project. If a Scrum project starting from the scratch means, they will go with the login, current balance. Sometimes some of the architects will push you for using of stuff. So you have to be ready, whatever it is. Then best practices, first determine the integration test strategy that could be adopted. Later prepare the test case and test data accordingly. This is what I said. Definitely this will be followed in agile. When you work with them, when you get the idea of step, what is the module they are going to create, which is a dummy module. If you know that, accordingly you can design the test case. Of course, in agile we are not going to write step by step. Again, depends on the company, but you will get an idea how it needs to be tested. Another one, study the architecture design of the application, identify the critical modules that needs to be tested. So while starting the, again, in the requirement phase itself, you will know which is in high priority modules. You can plan accordingly. Prototype means working product. Obtain the interface designs from the architecture team, create the test case, verify all the interfaces in detail, like database, external hardware, software. So you have something called architecture diagram. I should not say architecture diagram. Architecture itself a diagram. Architecture that it will tell a very good understanding about entire application. I'll show you an example. Just give me a second. After the test case, it is test data which plays the critical role. We have a separate module for that. How to test this, I will try to teach you. Always have the mock data prepared prior to executing. Do not test. That is what this, it is all about the test data. I will be teaching you very soon. Just give me a second, team. Architecture. I will screen share you. Please wait. Architecture diagram. Just, can you all able to see the architecture diagram? Please ping me, Zoom team. Can you all able to see Zoom? Yeah. So this is what an architecture diagram. If you see how the data will be flowed, which are all the modules used, what all the database used. You may have multiple, okay, architecture diagram for e-commerce website. See here, you have a browser, multi-factor authentication, web application. It will store it in the database, functionality, third-party application. So different what are the functionality we use it in the AWS. Again, the cloud is already in the peak only nowadays. That very soon we will also learn cloud-based testing, a part of one. Mobile, whichever the one they are using, how they are using database, all these integrations according to the modules we will have it. This we have to try to get it. If mostly the leads can able to access these document leads and modules, but if you're going to be a fresher, you don't have any idea what is happening in the organization, no other go, you have to ask during the call. Mostly in the agile team, we get access to everything because we will sit with the architecture. We can ask some valid question. We should not irritate them. Come up with some valid question. After understanding this concept, they will definitely guide you how they are doing it. Accordingly, we can write the test cases. What if we are working in a V module or waterfall module? There comes the issues because most of the V modules or waterfall modules, we may not have all the access. We may have different teams. So when you, for example, I'm talking a team is having 100 resources, may have 10 modules, 10 manual testing modules, means this team will not have idea about this particular module. So if you are joining as a experienced resource, as an automation or a manual tester, if you want to be like very demanding resource very soon, what you can do, they will give you knowledge transfer about each modules. At that time you draw the flowchart. You have to create that flowchart. So how each modules are there, what is some module, which module belongs to billing, which module belongs to, so many different category we can categorize. Those things we have to find it and draw yourself. Try to understand about the application because not every person will give you a very clear detailed KT. Suppose you are going to be a replacement of that person, means that person will never tell you anything. They will say this is what you have to do it. So it is always good to create a diagram which shows modules integrations. If you know this modules integration only, then integration testing can be done in the best way you can do it. And prototype, it's all about the application, the B modules which we can able to. It is not a blueprint. Okay, you can take it as a blueprint also. Some small code, it will, if you give some input, it will give you output rather than saying page is not full. I just replied for YouTube queries. Okay, I hope everyone clear about integration testing team. Zoom team, please confirm me. What about YouTube? All good? Okay. Let's move on to, rather than moving into the next level of testing, that is, next level of testing is nothing but after integration, we have to start with the system testing. Again, it is a quite big topic. What I will do is, we have only 30 minutes, that I will start later. Let's focus on smoke testing. It's very important in terms of both manual and automation team. We will write the smoke testing. Someone asked me how to explain smoke testing in interview in YouTube. This is the answer, you're going to get it. Smoke testing is a software testing that determines whether the deployed software build is stable or not. This testing confirmation to the QA team to proceed further. Okay, rather than talking with these definitions, let me tell you the real-time scenario. Then you may get it I am going to come from the reverse way. Reverse way means, see, 1 minute. Give me a second. Reverse in sense. Okay. Track the order. Product selection, move it. Payment mode. Delivery address. Track the order. So we have these models. Okay. So now Flipkart. We are taking considering the Flipkart module. Try to visualize it. Flipkart is having, if you go and check it, every product, if you consider as a module, one I can show in the like one is for mobile, one is for electronics. Electronic itself, TV is one module, fridge is a one module. Sorry, electronics a module, sub modules, fridge, washing machine, then like that. So many we have. If you take any application, we will have many modules and sub modules. No doubt on it. This is how it will be developed. So just an assumption. This is an assumption. Maybe like you have 50 modules. Rather than saying, for easy understanding, I'll put 5 modules. Inside this 5 modules, we have 50 sub modules like this. 5 modules means what? Example, like electronics, then clothes, then what else? We have so many things, right? Home appliances, etc. Then submodule means within that you have TV, like grinder, etc., etc. You have so many modules. You want to test everything. We are going to test it means what? The entire product is given to us. They are going to have some particular code into that. Maybe some issues in the strain added the code. Now we have to test the entire application. See, test the entire application. It means what? It is regression. This is called regression testing. This an average, let's put like, if you want to how to write scenarios, test cases and all, that's the next part of training. Very soon I will tell you. Assumption like 250 test cases we have it. Test cases means step by step, login, add product, payment, logout, for grinder, for electronics like cloth home, so many things. So we have different positive scenario, negative scenario, all contains 250 test cases. So now, for any small change in the application, if you test all this 250 test case means, we call that as a regression testing. Entire Flipkart, you're going to test it. Now comes the next one. That is, here comes the confusion. One is smoke, another one is sanity. Most of the confusion will happen. Let's go to the sanity and smoke. I'm coming from the bottom, a different approach. For example, if you want to do this manually, I'm talking reality. If you want to do it manually with 5 I'm talking everything about manual testing, not automation. If you do it manually, it takes like 5 days, no doubt. How many resources per day? 10 test case also, 5 resource, 50, 5 5 25, almost 5 days it will take, an average. If you go for automation also, 1 day it will take, no doubt. So 5 days. So for small change, you have to test this 250 test case. Daily, we are going to do a lot of small changes, right? Is it possible for us to do a regression testing every time means? Just think about yourself. No, it is not possible. 5 days billable, right? So there they are bringing the concept of sanity. Sanity means what? Important or critical flow from each modules. Example, just you itself think. You are creating a scenario. For scenario means end-to-end scenario. End-to-end scenario for iPhone. iPhone means it's nothing but mobile audio. So iPhone, another one, end-to-end scenario for Android phone. Mostly, this is how we can classify mostly Android iPhone. So you are testing for iPhone 5, whatever, iPhone like 12. This means you no need to test this. This is more, if this is work, we can assume like, okay, 13 other things will work. If this flow works for some company like Vivo, we can assume like others also will work, because we will have like 50 brands. For all 50 brands, I can't test it. So what you're doing, you are just choosing some important, I can say critical flows, much better, it sounds better. Critical flow from each modules. Same way for TV, end to end for, from if you take about home appliance, appliance, let's take if appliance means you can go for AC, which is widely sold. We will get the data, AC, TV, something from other thing like clothes. I'll go with kids and kids, sometimes ladies is important thing like this. Instead of this 250, I'm trying to come up from every module. I'm not going to worry about sub modules or stuff. One end-to-end scenario which covers most of the important modules. So now the test case, we can bring it to how many count? Like from 250, I can make it like 40 test cases. This we call it as sanity. Everyone understood what is the meaning of sanity. Tomorrow, someone just dev team uploaded the code, build is done. Now what I can do, I can't go and test this 250, but this 40 test case can be done in a day, right? So you made some changes. Okay, I'm testing all the important flows, the critical flows, everything is working fine. Because monthly ones are before going into release, we will bring the regression testing manually. That is the reason where automation boom happened. This is not able to done by manual testing. That's why the automation came. Automation, every company you take automation team, weekly, at least 2 to 3 days, they will run the regression suite in multiple environment. This is the main task by the automation team. And this is also daily, they will do it. So all good about uh, regression and sanity, David, Zoom team, and of course others also. All good? Yes, perfect. One or two reply, I'll be happy. Now comes next level of testing. Tomorrow only I'm going to start. Today I will give an heads up. Smoke testing. Smoke testing means what? One, like 2 to 3, you the count don't by heart, right? Very important critical flow will be tested to check the application is stable or not. Application is stable or not. That is working or not. So mostly when this will happen. So nothing but I can create a flow now. Instead of this, okay, this one end-to-end scenario, I will run for which one? Maybe we already have a registered one, or depends on the scenarios. Just for one product, mobile application because that is the one which is most used in the e-commerce. So what you will do, I will create one end-to-end flow which covers only the most important critical thing, this thing. So login in, okay, these are all the things. So I'm reducing it. If you have 50 modules, if you think it logically, a person should be able to register it. It means what? Database is working perfectly. This is the first meaning. And you're able to log in. What is the main motive of this website? To order the any product. I'm just taking this mobile because based on the analytics, based on the business team, we understood like this is the most used product. So what I will do, I will select the product, give the address, do the payment, track the order. Just one or two flow, I will test it. That we call it as smoke testing. Mostly like 3 to 4 test cases we have it. If you see the definition now, smoke testing is a software testing process that determines whether the deployed software is, if it is build is stable or not. Okay. Let me go to the another. See here. This will give more clarity. Usually, the first build, they applied some changes in the code. Some batch process happened. After that, it verifies the critical functionality of the application. These are all the critical functionality of the application. If this itself not working means definitely rest of the things is not going to work. You will test this. If this is pass, if smoke testing is pass, then you are giving a go. Like yes, you can start the testing. In other word, before starting the testing, you're doing one small testing. That is called the smoke testing. A definition and all, we'll see it tomorrow. Let's try to understand the real meaning of it. Usually where this process will happen, based on my previous experience, I say, usually it's a banking project or healthcare, whatever it is a project. Midnight, we will have something called batch or patch process will happen. That is some code changes they would have done. Some, if it is a banking, some batching process will happen. If you don't trust me, today go to 12 a.m., try to use IRCTC. It will not work because they itself clearly said 12 to 12:30. What they will do? Server will be down. 12 to 12:30 a.m. Server will be down. What exactly they are doing here is they are doing this process. They will clear it, they will put the latest code, whatever is it. That is the time they will put the entire application down. Since IRCT is used by the Indians, 12 a.m. is something we will not use it. If you're going to work for a US project, Canada project, they will choose a timestamp. If it's an Euro project, their time mostly between 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. That is the time this batch process or patch process, any change in the application, any server restart, whatever, they will do it. After they do it, what it means, they restarted all the server, they is going to start a build. One more, that is creating in that environment, latest code you're going to apply. It means what? Next day, first build. It is not 10th build. Day one, you may have like 40 builds. Builds means you're putting code above and above. End of the day, you're just doing this batch process. Next day, what you did, you building the first build. This is the first build. Usually, after maybe 12:30 or 12:45, go and open an IRCT. That will be very, 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 very slow, to be frank. Actually, they will do the testing, then only they will deploy it, or else the server will be down always. So exactly what will happen, it will be very, very slow. We have to check whether this application is stable or not. If it is stable, good. I will tell yes, test is passed. You can start with the sanity. Sanity means what? This one. Okay. Now you check this end to end, 1 or 2 test case. Everything is good. You can go for sanity. You can test these scenarios. No, this itself issue, don't start the sanity. Here you have an issue, you raise a defect. The defect will be fixed by the support team or the dev team. That is why if you see most of the support team and all midnight work, second shift, late night work, because the support team main duty is mostly the server restart patch process. They are also part of a dev team, but mostly they work in the late night. They will do these tasks only. So they will sometimes, again, it is a process. According to the process, sanity testing will be done by whom, it needs to be done by the QA team. Sorry, smoke testing needs to be done by the QA team, but it varies from organization to organization. In one of the project which I worked, the smoke testing was done by the support team. Later, we just brought into the automation. The smoke testing we will automatically trigger using the automation script. Whenever there is change in the build, like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., automatic trigger process we implemented. But manually itself, it will fail. Automation, definitely it is going to fail. Then how can you solve this issue means in the test ng, there we used a concept, right? Test ng, retry, failure. This concept only we will apply it in the smoke testing test case. I'm talking for the automation point of view. So in future, if you're going to automate a smoke testing means without this concept retry failure, you can't make this as a successful. I usually will mention retry failure for 10 times. 10 times when you keep executing the same flow, the server will get stable, automatically things will work. After 10 times also, if it is not working, then you can raise a defect. You can wait for it. One more time, they will say, yes, build is done. Like that is why in the diagram they see 1, 2, 3 build, not the first build. Initial, they will keep putting the build unless the application is stable. Yes, all it is stable. Smoke testing, yes, it is successful. Important critical functionality means what? Payment I can able to do. These are all the important things. If you can able to do these things means, then we can tell, okay guys, you can start with the sanity. Sanity means the important functionality from every module's critical functionality. Then comes the regression. Regression means the entire application. So these are all the things we are going to learn. Smoke testing verifies the critical functionality, like application started successfully or not. Sanity means it's new functionality, bug fixes in the build. Like once it is stable, later after multiple rounds of testing, we will see is there any difference. Mostly in the starting day, we'll start with smoke testing, then we'll go to sanity. Once this is it is going good, then we'll go for the regression testing. So in the upcoming days, how to choose this regression testing, all the tricks of regression testing, followed by sanity, smoke, everything we will be learning it tomorrow. So I just gave you an overview about regression, sanity, and smoke testing without book definitions. Tomorrow we will start again these topics with slides and the book definitions. So those are all the way you have to tell it in the interview. It is up to you. Even you can tell the example which I said, because this patch process is common in every organization, all the application. Definitely they will run the patch process late night. After that, the application will be unstable. We have to check the initial builds whether the application is stable or not. If it is stable, then I can say smoke testing is completed. It will be done by the testing team. Why it is in the organization, it is done by the dev team. Simple guess, because the dev team or support team only work in the late night. Rather than dev team, I can put the support team. Mostly support team will work in late night. Even though this needs to be done by the QA team, we will start our work like 9 a.m., right? So it is again a waste of time till that the application will not be it will not be tested. So most of the support team will test and they drop a mail to the QA team like you can kickstart the sanity. For example, you have an on-site coordinator. That project is driven based on the on-site means this process will be done by the on-site QA team. So again, as per the book process, QA needs to be done, but based on the organization convenience, Sometimes support our dev team also will do the smoke testing. So that's from my end for today, team. We have a lot of modules. I think Neha, you have to wait for at least 4 to 5 classes before you put me all the topics. I will be going in a sequential way. So you have to wait till that. You can check Guru 99 website. That is a website I'm following the sequence. That is a sequence I'm going to follow it. So before I stop, to check with the YouTube team, all clear about today's topic? Yeah, I'm guiding everyone. I'm going to teach everyone. Wait, team, let me wind up this stream. Definitely, we will have one-on-one discussion with Zoom team. Nowadays, so many attendants. Happy to see you. You paid money and joining our. Okay, just one reply from YouTube. I can end the streaming. Okay. Okay, Pramod, thank you so much for replying. Good night, team. Thank you. See you all tomorrow with new set of topics. We are going to learn levels of testing. Bye, team. I'm just ending the streaming.